On Monday, the Big 12 is hosting its third State of College Athletics Forum from Washington, D.C. The forum will include two panels, one made up of current student athletes entitled The Voice of Those Impacted by Reform, and another made up of sports journalists, university presidents, and the Big 12 commissioner entitled Where Do We Go From Here? Take a look at some of the highlights from the last forum, which addressed the two issues: where does the money go, and are student athletes employees?
I don't know that there's anyone who's in higher education who sees them as employees. I just can't get there.
Once you do go across that threshold, it opens up a Pandora's box. So I think a full cost of scholarship, which is something that the NCAA seems to be evolving to, is a really good next step for that. I think once you start paying, it's, well, do you pay field hockey players? You know, you certainly pay football players. Well, you pay Todd Gurley. Do you pay the holder the same amount of money as Todd Gurley?
I think we have to remember that these names are created and these athletes become famous because they're playing for these institutions. And so I'm fine if there's a little money going to some of these athletes, but this notion that autographs, they should all be paid for all their autographs, which of course is another logical extension of this. Well, Todd Gurley, people wanted his autograph because he's a Georgia running back. It's not because he's Todd Gurley. I don't even know if anyone would have known who he was walking down the street were it not for the jersey. And I think therein lies the conversation. And I hope, again, that sane minds kind of come to some kind of conclusion on this. But the idea of wholesale paying athletes and hundreds, thousands of dollars going to athletes, just what we don't need: more money in college sports.
But the pie is only so big. And just in the case of any family budget, right now it's all apportioned to where it needs to be.
What we do is we pour all of those dollars back into some resource that helps a student athlete. We have 20 sports programs, but with our dollars, we fund their financial aid, their coaches, their trainers, all of the personnel that works. We do have to fund our own facilities. We have to sustain our own debt. We bond a lot of our construction. Just like when you build a house, you pay a mortgage. So again, when you talk about redistribution of wealth, I think what really needs to be peeled back on this onion we call college athletics is, where does the money go? And if again, given time, I think people would discover it goes right back to something that impacts a student athlete every day.
We've got to have a model of how you're going to support all the Olympic sports, the other 17 sports that we have that don't make money. And that's by distributing some of the revenue that comes in for football and men's basketball over to cover the expenses of the rest of the sports.
Now, people are scared that some of those sports aren't going to get the money that they deserve, especially if we start to compensate or pay athletes. Do you see that being a problem in the future?
Absolutely. I think most universities, there's only a handful of schools that operate at break even or in the black. And so if you start paying the football players, paying the men's basketball players, is going to put tremendous financial pressure on a lot of schools in this country. And what's going to happen, quite frankly, is they're going to cut the opportunities by eliminating sports, eliminating scholarships. And that's bad for the country as a whole and bad for student athletes as a whole.
I would hope that there could be some kind of containment of these costs of salaries for these huge salaries for especially college football and men's basketball coaches. It's getting absolutely ridiculous. And but it's an arms race. How do you stop that? The bottom line is we have to dig deeper, as someone on the panel said. We have to explain the entire process. And any university in this country that just became men's basketball and football, I think every alum would hate what that looks like. And every fan would despise what that looks like.
For all of the people out there, the fans who are concerned about whether or not their team's going to be in the playoff, whether or not they're going to win March Madness, I think everybody needs to step back and realize that there are a lot of bigger issues facing college athletics right now that could really change the way the whole thing is viewed. And until people start to realize that, and as Christine Brennan pointed out, start to get disgusted with some of the things that are going on, I think the future of college athletics, it could be in trouble.
The Big 12 has made a commitment to examine the issues currently facing college athletics. On Monday, you'll hear from names like Lisa Salters, Jay Billis, Doug Gottlieb, and Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby. We anticipate that C-SPAN will carry the coverage live, but you can also watch from the web on CampusInsiders.com and Big12Sports.com. For the Big 12 Digital Network, I'm Kristen Keith.